kiss and do whatever you want, but you will be disappointed. You will fall asleep with ants in your pants. Judy, always trying to find and keep the dream of horses. Judy, that's good for you. Was Judy and the dream of horses. Dream of horses. Dream of horses. Dream of horses. The best looking boys are taken. The best looking girls are staying inside. So Judy, where does that leave you? Walking the street from morning to night with the star upon your shoulder, lighting up the path that you walk. With the parrot on your shoulder, saying everything when you talk. If you're ever feeling blue, then write another song about your dream of horses. Write a song about your dream of horses. Call it Judy on the dream of horses. Call it Judy on the dream of horses. Your dream of horses. Na 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 bop. Your dream of horses. Na 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 bop. Your dream of horses. La na na bop. Your dream of horses.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Ashley Ragusa. I'm the president of the Citadel, and welcome to Megan Muratore's new one-act play, No Good Music, came out in 2010. Megan Muratore started writing this in 2019, and then she joined the Citadel and Playwrights in 2020, and we kind of workshopped it a little bit here and there, and she really focused on it for her RA position that she's had, her resident artist, for the past couple of months. And we had some workshops with the actors that we have here today. Workshops usually entail for us, we have actors reading, but it's a private reading, and we have two kind of workshops. So there's some feedback from the Citadel after, and we've kind of now had a final product. So I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Suggested ticket donation is $10 if you can afford it. We have a seed and spark that our crowdfunding is going amazing. Just shout out to everybody. Thank you guys so much. We are almost at our goal and we have a couple days left. So if you would like to help us, we have the link in the description. We will be also having a live talk back after. So if you'd like to stay with us for around 15-20 minutes afterward, the playwright will be talking as well as the actors. So if you have any questions about the process, the play, anything, write them in the chat. We're on a little delay, so hopefully we'll be able to start off with some questions already, and then you guys can just filter them in. If you like what you see today, please follow us on social media and our website, the Citadel of Playwrights, on everything. Facebook, Instagram, we'll also put that information below. The show runs about an hour long, And thank you guys again for being here. And please enjoy No Good Music came out in 2010 by Megan Muratore.
No Good Music came out in 2010 by Megan Muratore. Circe is laying out in a field late at night. It's the end of the summer, maybe mid-August, and it's still hot even under the night sky. Not necessarily sweaty, but certainly slightly uncomfy. She has just left a party at her friend's boyfriend's friend's apartment. The field is around the corner from the party. Circe takes a small notebook and pen out of the pocket of her pants. The objects are small, but still big enough to question how it was possible that they were in her pants pocket. She begins to write. Maybe there is a projected screen showing what she is jotting down. Something about how she hates being that person that gets uncomfortable at parties and has to take breaks because she enjoys spending time by herself. Or something about how she likes that in upstate New York and sometimes other places, but specifically there, when you lay out in the grass at night, you can see what looks like every constellation imaginable in the sky. And how the sky isn't just that deep, dark blue that we often picture it as, but you can see flecks of red and orange and pink from the sunset, even though it happened hours beforehand. Or something about how the color pink makes her feel warm. Circe sits up, puts her notebook and pen back in her pocket, takes out her phone, and puts on Frank Ocean's Blonde.
Many college students have gone to college and got yourself and know that that's good enough. Don't try to be someone else.
Hand me a towel, I'm dirty dancing by myself. Gone off tap, this is Judd. Is a good guy.
Poolside convo about your summer last night. Oh, about your summer last night. I give you no play. Could I make it shy last night? Could I make it shy on the last night? Could we make it in? Do we have time?
She looks up to see Glaucus walking toward her. Before she has the chance to question it, Glaucus sits down next to her.
Hi.
Hey.
You were at the party, right?
Yeah, actually my roommate was hosting it.
Oh, cool.
How do you know him?
Well, I didn't before tonight. My friend's boyfriend is friends with him.
Oh, complex.
Yeah, I guess so.
Why'd you leave so quickly after getting there?
Just wanted some alone time.
Oh, I can go if you...
No, I mean, like, not wanting to be around a big group of people. It's fine if you're here. Plus, I don't know you, so I could act like a huge weirdo and it wouldn't matter because in theory, I never have to see you again.
I feel like that's usually the opposite of how people act when they meet new people.
Yeah, maybe I'm just quirky.
You setting me up to manic pixie dream girl you?
Well, maybe. I'd rather set up the circumstances than have someone force that narrative onto me.
Smart.
Thank you. I know I am.
You really have a response for everything, don't you?
Well, that's how conversations happen, right?
Touché. Oh, that's my favorite song in the album.
What?
Self-Control.
Oh, word. Mine too.
I still think I like Channel Orange better overall, though.
I felt that way for like a solid 2 years after Blonde came out, and I don't know what changed, but it resonates a lot more with me now.
Growing up, I guess.
Oh, very insightful. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. How long have you been up here?
Like in this field?
No, like, are you from here, or do you go to school up here?
Oh, yeah, I go to school here.
Didn't want to go home for the summer?
No, I like to spend as little time as possible with people from home, and it's really beautiful up here.
Yeah, I guess so. On the odd days when it's not 50 degrees or 110.
Yeah, I like the extremes. And I like seeing how much livelier it is during the summer than during the winter, when all of the college students have collective seasonal affective disorder. It really makes everything a lot gloomier.
Yeah, and then in summer it turns out into the much cheery alternative of plain old depression.
Exactly, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go to school up here?
No, I actually went to school downstate, but I grew up here and I live here again now.
Oh, where'd you go?
Sarah Lawrence.
Oh, isn't that a all-girls school?
Nope, not since the 70s.
Oh, weird. I thought it still was.
Yeah, most people do.
Do you like it there?
Yeah, it was fine.
Very convincing.
It's a whole thing. I don't need to get into it.
I don't mind.
Well, I really liked it there, and I finished 2.5 years, and they kicked me out.
Oh.
Yeah. Circe does not ask what Glaucus got kicked out for. She really, really wants to.
You can ask if you want.
What? No, what?
Why I was kicked out.
Oh, no, I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
I was a liability.
Oh, what do you mean?
I had some mental health stuff, and they were worried I was going to hurt myself because, I had before, and they couldn't risk my parents or someone filing a lawsuit against them for not giving me the proper mental health treatment I needed.
Were they not giving you the proper mental health treatment?
No. Well, I mean, I guess they were fine. They were trying. It just wasn't working. I don't know if any college really gives you proper mental health treatment.
Shit. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm like fine now.
Like the Lord song.
What?
Liability.
Gotcha.
Sorry, maybe not an appropriate connection to make.
No, it's okay. That was probably too much for me to spring on you the first time meeting you, wasn't it?
I don't mind. Like I said, in theory, we never have to see each other again if we don't want to.
Glaucus looks over at Circe, expecting her to leave. She doesn't. The two look up at the stars. Some time has passed. Maybe seconds, maybe minutes, maybe hours. It's still summer. It's still hot.
Why'd you leave the apartment?
Huh?
I didn't ask you before why you left.
Shouldn't really want to be there. I tend to feel really lonely at parties. It makes me more conscious of my personhood and how much I don't like being around other people.
But you wanted to be around me? I mean, I know you didn't follow me out or anything, but you chose to sit here with me.
Yeah, you seem cool.
Thanks.
Why the hesitation?
I don't know, you really don't know me.
Well, then, I suppose upon first impression, you seem cool.
You too.
You don't have to say it back.
I know.
Sorry.
For what?
Being weird.
I like weird.
Circe subtly moves closer to Glaucus. Not close enough for Glaucus to notice. She notices that he doesn't notice. She moves closer. He notices. Circe points up at a constellation above them.
Do you know what that is?
What is?
The constellation. It kind of looks like...
Circe tries to contort her body into a shape resembling the throne of Cassiopeia. Glaucus doesn't get it.
It kind of looks like a chair.
Cassiopeia.
Okay,
Do you know the myth?
Yeah.
Glaucus gives Circe a knowing look.
Okay, no. Tell me.
So Cassiopeia was married to King Cepheus and was Andromeda's mother, and she was sent into the sky after she insulted Poseidon by saying that she and Andromeda were more beautiful than his sea nymphs. And the constellation is supposed to be her in her throne, holding onto it as she rotates through the celestial sphere.
Oh, so that's why it looks like a chair.
Well, a throne to be exact.
Okay, a very important distinction. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I watched the first few episodes of the first season, but couldn't really get into it.
That's shocking, honestly.
Why do you say that?
I mean, you like Greek mythology, and I feel like it's its own form of mythology, you know?
I feel like that could be said about any TV show or movie or anything, though.
I guess you're right, but I'm thinking about like the origin stories and battles and mystical creatures and magic.
Yeah, I just found it to be super boring.
I don't get how you could consider it boring even at all.
It just felt so slow.
But there's so much going on in like every episode.
I don't know. Maybe it's that there's too much going on. It's a lot to follow.
How can it be boring and have too much going on?
That's just how I feel about it.
I just don't understand how it can be both.
I watched it a long time ago. I don't remember how I felt.
Okay. That just doesn't make sense.
It's literally just my opinion about a TV show. It's not that deep.
Fine. You should really try to get back into it, though. It's really good television.
Sure. Okay.
What kind of stuff do you like to watch?
Not much of a TV person in general.
Are you one of those people who thinks TV is like a lesser art form compared to film?
I mean, it kind of is.
Hate to disagree.
Do you?
Huh?
Hate to disagree.
Oh, no? No, I guess not.
That's what I thought. Okay.
What?
Well, it just seems like you like to be a contrarian.
Is that a bad thing?
No, but it doesn't feel great when you think your opinion is the only right one.
Oh, well, that's because it is.
Glaucus is not amused.
Okay.
Okay. Why do you like film more?
Partially because I have a short attention span. So I like the instant gratification of having an entire plot line shown to you in one sitting instead of watching a whole season of a show. It's more fulfilling to me. And I like how much weirder film tends to be than TV.
That makes sense.
Have you seen Eraserhead?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's the weirdest movie I've ever seen.
Okay. What's it about?
Well, it's kind of hard to explain because it's kind of a setup in a dream or like another universe. But there's this guy who impregnates his girlfriend, and then they have a baby, but it doesn't look like a baby. It kind of looks like E.T., and there's this whole thing where the girlfriend stops taking care of the baby, and the main character has to do it on his own, and wow, it really sounds so much like a comedy when I describe it this way. It's fucking weird. It's just filled with images that don't make sense next to each other, and there's not really a plot, and...
Sounds bad.
I don't know if bad is the right word, but definitely not an enjoyable viewing experience.
But you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the fact that I didn't really like it. And then I thought about it and was able to make sense out of the abstract images seen on the screen. And I was like, oh, okay, so this weird baby and fever dream are just manifestations of the main character's anxiety surrounding parenting.
Huh. That's not confusing to you, though. To the same level that Game of Thrones is.
Dude.
And what?
They're like wildly different things. And also, I don't have to like Game of Thrones just because everyone else does.
You're right. You should try and give it another watch, though. The first season doesn't do the rest of the show justice.
Fine. Okay.
But you don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh my god!
Do you remember that song Airplanes?
By B.O.B.?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. I had completely blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah, honestly, every time I look at the stars or even talk about them, it gets so aggressively stuck in my head.
It's a bad song.
Oh, I know.
2010 was maybe like the worst year for music.
Like objectively and subjectively. Except for like Bedrock.
Oh my god. I really must have just blocked that entire year out of my mind.
You have to admit that song is kind of a jam, though.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Definitely feels a little weird that the title is, based on the Flintstones, like a sexy song about a cartoon. Feels strange.
It's pretty clever, though. Maybe you just don't like it because you wish you came up with the pun.
Now you're clearly projecting your own writing desires onto me.
Oh, okay. You're right. I just feel like I'll never write anything as genius as the members of Young Money did. Their minds are just incredible.
Thanks, Lil Wayne.
Circe and Glaucus laugh. Slight pause. They look at each other. Tender.
Did you know that Jupiter is supposed to appear at its brightest this week?
I did, actually. Jupiter is my favorite planet. How'd you know that?
Just a feeling. I saw it on Twitter. I don't think I've ever met someone before who cares enough about planets to have a favorite one.
You didn't go through an astronomy stage when you were younger?
No. I mean, like, I learned a lot about astronomy in middle school in science class, but I never actually cared about it because my teacher was mean.
Oh. See, I was really into my astronomy unit. I remember we went on this field trip during the middle of the year to this planetarium that was like an hour drive away, so everyone made a really big deal out of it. And then we got there, and it completely blew my mind that there can be this huge projection above you showing every star in the night sky, and that all of those stars and planets exist, and you'll never actually be able to see all of them at once, except for in this building. And ever since, I've just been completely obsessed with finding out as much about constellations and planets and galaxies and space in general, because it makes me feel closer to the vastness of the universe. I don't think that makes sense.
Not really, but, like, I get you.
Okay. Good.
Well, I always loved Bill Nye the Science Guy, but that was pretty much the only way I digested scientific information. I definitely didn't seek any of it out.
Not your thing?
Yeah, like, I think science is truly so cool. I just don't get it a lot of the time.
I completely get you. I mean, I was never really interested in any form of science after that astronomy unit, literally 10 years ago, so I have my science limitations as well.
What was your thing then?
I don't know if I really had an academic thing until I got to college. I kind of didn't care about school all the way through senior year of high school. I just wanted to get out of there.
I distinctly remember being a purely B- student.
Yeah, I feel like that's like somehow a universal experience in high school.
Either people are literal geniuses who end up being the fucking valedictorian, which literally means nothing in the long run, or like consistently B-.
Yeah, there was almost never anyone who would get much lower grades because schools are so badly need to keep their governmental funding. And then teachers would have to make sure their students are performing at a certain level. So it was like teachers were never super harsh graders because it would just reflect badly on them and their classroom environment and much less on the actual students, which is kind of fucked.
Yeah, no, I know. I for sure didn't deserve the grades I got when I was younger.
Like you deserved worse or better?
Like worse.
Bad student?
Oh, yeah. I think I did maybe 10% of my readings prior to my undergrad career, and I would blatantly cheat on tests and like plagiarize my essays, and I would feel like absolutely zero remorse for any of those actions because teenagers like suck.
That's honestly wild how terrible they are.
Yeah, like being very recently out of my teenage years, I can still fully recognize that I was the actual worst. Like, who let me be such a dumbass?
Yeah, literally same. I was mean to my parents for no reason, and I never did my work. And I always broke curfew and drank their alcohol, which was never the right kind of alcohol to get drunk off. And I started smoking cigarettes on the back porch, and my mom totally knew, but also probably knew that if she confronted me about it, I would have caused such a scene because I was an angsty little shit.
I'm honestly glad to hear that I wasn't the only one who did all of those things.
You definitely weren't. I knew so many people in high school who had these same like exact experiences.
Dude, I literally ran away from the cops so many times when I was like 17 because I was doing so much dumb shit. Like, what was I thinking?
I guess we can have some comfort in knowing that our brains hadn't fully developed.
Yeah, thank you. Truly restoring my faith in humanity.
It's my pleasure, milady.
Can you tell me what that one is? A little bit below Cassiopeia.
That's Perseus.
Oh, what's his deal? Tell me about it.
Honestly, I know nothing about this one.
Okay.
What are you laughing at?
Don't worry about it.
No, seriously, why are you laughing?
I just think it's really funny that you went on this whole big tangent about trying to learn everything on the night sky, and like you gave such an intricate description about the last one, and then you don't know anything about this one.
I mean, I obviously can't know everything about every constellation.
Oh, no, I completely get you. I'm not, like, making fun of you. My brain's just being weird. Come on, I wasn't being serious. Do you want me to look it up for you and tell you what the myth is?
Yeah.
Okay.
She takes out her phone and looks at the Wikipedia page for Perseus.
So basically, he's the guy who killed Medusa.
Medusa honestly deserved better.
What was her deal? I mean, I know she had snakes for hair, and if you looked her in the eye, you would turn to stone, but those don't necessarily seem like super redeemable qualities to me.
I mean, I think having snakes for hair would be pretty badass.
Okay, true.
Medusa was a gorgon, a subterranean sea spirit, with bat-like wings and serpents for hair. In Greek myth, she was demonized due to her monstrosity, but over time, the myth changed, reflecting her original nature. She was a beautiful woman, desired by every man around her. Upon meeting her in Athena's temple, Poseidon raped her. And Athena, in a fit of rage, turned Medusa's hair to snakes and made her face so horrible to look at that when you beheld her, you turned to stone.
So she was punished for something fully out of her control.
Yeah.
She did deserve better. I wish I could change that, you know? To be a person who understood her innocence. And I know that it's a myth, but it feels so real. A woman who is taken advantage of, who is deemed to be a certain type of person solely based on how she looks. I think of her frequently. The enchantress. She who does not get what she wants. She channels her jealousy into change, transformation. I think she just wants to be loved, or seen, or heard. We don't ever hear her side of the story. I think I want to dye my hair green.
For Medusa?
For Medusa and the snakes and for Athena's envy. Sometimes I want to remodel myself so that no man will ever look at me again. Maybe if I try hard enough, I'll dye my hair the right shade of green, and it will slither like Medusa's serpents, and it will be captivating. And sometimes I'll want that attention, and sometimes I won't. And when I don't want it, maybe I'll be able to turn anyone who's looking at me to stone. But that power won't be forced upon me.
You'll be in control of it.
Yes.
Do you want me to look at you?
I don't know. Yes.
They look at each other, really look at each other, for a few minutes. Circe notices that Glaucus has freckles all over his face. She puts her hand on his face and traces the shapes she finds in his freckles. She sees Cassiopeia and Perseus. She sees individual stars. She notes that some of the freckles are darker than others. Some are barely visible. She takes her hand off of his face and holds it in his. He sees the light from the night sky reflecting off of her eyes. A moment. Then Circe leans over and kisses Glaucus.
What was that for?
I just wanted to do it.
What color are your eyes?
Green.
Fitting.
I should hope so. They are on my face.
I just mean because of the whole Medusa thing.
I know.
I always wanted to have colored eyes. Not as much now, but I felt I looked boring. One note. I think brown is the most boring color. I like how I look, you know. But I think I'd look more interesting if I had colored eyes.
I think brown eyes are beautiful. At least with painting, brown can be the combination of so many other colors. Blue and orange, green and red, purple and yellow, red, blue, and yellow. So you have all of the colors in your eyes, more than just green or blue or gray.
Thank you.
You don't have to thank me.
I know. But thank you.
Circe has a big smile on her face. Glaucus thinks about kissing Circe again. Circe can tell that Glaucus is thinking about kissing her again. He doesn't. He's not sure why.
Do you believe in God?
That's a big question.
Sorry, it just popped into my head.
I think so. I believe in something, at least. Maybe not capital G/D God, but something.
Are you Jewish?
Yeah, why?
The only people I know who refer to God as the G/D are Jewish.
I didn't know there were many Jewish people up here.
There aren't.
I'm not like super religious though. It's more of a cultural thing for me. I find that people think I'm more religious than I am because Judaism is a lot more openly ritualistic than a lot of other religions. Like, I light my menorah on Hanukkah and I fast on Yom Kippur and I go kosher for Passover. Do you think I'm weird?
What do you mean?
Because I believe in God.
No, I think it's kind of cool.
Why?
I don't think that many people I don't know that many people who do believe in God. I wasn't raised religious or anything. My parents don't practice anything. I don't know if my grandparents did either. But I think it's also a generational thing, a shift where a lot of people our age believe in, like something. Or maybe don't even believe in something, but don't believe in God in the Judeo-Christian sense.
I hate when people say that.
Say what?
Judeo-Christian.
I mean, they're kind of inherently linked.
But they're not the same thing. And almost always when people say Judeo-Christian, they just mean Christian. And people also always seem to forget that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all Abrahamic religions, and yet no one ever says Judeo-Christian Islamic because they just mean Christian and Western and probably white. Also, the God in the New and Old Testaments are completely different. The God in the New Testament is barely even there. And I've heard lots of people say that the Old Testament God is cruel, but honestly, I don't think that's true. I actually think that statement is probably at least a little bit anti-Semitic. And actually, I think God was just creating a whole new world and trying to deal with people messing up his plans. And you can't honestly tell me that if you were an omnipresent, ubiquitous, omniscient deity, that you wouldn't be a little bit cruel too.
I like to think I wouldn't be cruel.
I'm sure we'd all like to think we wouldn't be cruel if we were gods. Is that seriously all that you got out of that?
I mean, I don't know what you would want me to say, really.
I mean...
An acknowledgement that you're right?
No, because I'm not saying that I'm an authority or anything. What?
It just seems like something you've thought a lot about, and then in turn you expect people to say, wow, you're right, what an intelligent analysis of religion within the United States. And I'm not saying it isn't, I just...
You don't have to stay here if you don't want to listen to what I have to say.
Do you want me to leave?
I mean, you can if you want.
I don't want to, I'm trying to engage in conversation with you.
Well, I wouldn't say you're doing that successfully.
Okay. Do you think you're smarter than most people? What? What?
That seems like an indirect way of you trying to say that you find me patronizing.
No, that's not at all what I meant. I just meant like in a literal sense. Like when you talk to people, does your brain go to a place of, I think I'm smarter than you? Not in a mean way, just based on a preconceived notion of intelligence.
I feel like you're trying to pick a fight with me.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, you're basically circling around the idea that you find me condescending.
That's not what I'm trying to... It's not what I was trying to do. I just think you're smart and interesting, and right now very confrontational, and I won't lie and say I know exactly why you're being that way, but I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go.
Silence for a while. Uncomfortable. Circe collects her things and then looks at Glaucus to tell her not to go. He doesn't look at her or say anything. Reflection.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes. I think I'm smarter than other people.
Okay.
Is that the answer you wanted?
I wasn't looking for a specific answer. I guess that's, what I thought you would say. You're definitely smarter than me, at least.
Yeah, I don't think that's a difficult milestone to pass.
I want you to stay.
Thank you. Okay.
Has anyone ever asked you if you have horns?
What?
Has anyone ever asked you
No,
if...
I heard what you said the first time. I just don't know what you mean.
Well, it's a thing that some people believe that Jewish people have horns.
Dude, you are seriously pushing
No,
it right
I'm not
now.
in any way insinuating that Jewish people do have horns. I was just curious if other people have asked.
I honestly didn't even know that was a thing until now.
Yeah, one summer I was working in the box office for an outdoor performing arts center, and my boss was this upstate blue-collar guy. And someone had brought up religion, and he said something about seeing a Jew's horns once. And I thought he was joking, so I laughed. And he was like, "There's nothing funny about that."
What the fuck?
I know. It's crazy that people still think anti-Semitic shit like that.
No, it's crazy that they figured out the secret that Jews have horns.
What?
Do you want to see mine?
You can't be serious.
I guess you'll never know.
They've been laying in the field for a long time. Neither of them know how long. Circe points to a constellation and says,
What's that one?
That's Ursa Major.
Oh, the big bear.
Yeah. How'd you get that?
I took a year of Latin in high school.
Why didn't you keep it up?
Oh, I hated it. I think it's a beautiful language, but it's not the most practical one. When am I ever going to use Latin?
You just did.
Touché. Do you like horror movies?
Yeah. I love them.
What's your favorite?
The Shining.
A classic choice.
What's yours?
Scream.
That barely counts.
What do you mean?
I mean, it just takes tropes from other horror movies.
Yeah, that's literally the point.
It's not original,
Well, that's just dumb. Just because it uses tropes from other horror movies to further its own plot doesn't mean it's not original. The concept was still pretty brilliant at the time, and it's not only super funny, but pretty scary when it needs to be. Also, The Shining is based off a fucking Stephen King novel, so by your logic, that's not really original either.
Hard disagree. Fine.
I do love The Shining, though.
I think almost every day about that one scene where Wending is walking through the halls of the hotel.
Oh, and she sees that guy in the bear costume giving a blowjob to the businessman.
Yes. What the fuck does it mean? Why is that scene there? It's literally never explained.
I actually read this super disturbing theory the other day that suggests that Jack had been sexually abusing Danny, and at the beginning of the movie, Danny is lying in bed with a little bear stuffed animal that looks a lot like the guy in the bear costume. So I guess the scene is a representational externalization of the assault.
Sheesh. That's fucking heavy.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe it, but it also kind of makes sense in the context of the movie.
Yeah. Shit.
Sorry if that ruins the movie for you now.
No, it's okay. You know what that one is?
Which?
The one that goes like this, like.
Glaucus tries to bend his arms into the shape of Sagittarius. Circe gets it.
Oh, yeah, I have absolutely no idea.
That's that's Sagittarius.
Oh, yes, like the zodiac symbol.
Exactly.
I think I'm like a Sagittarius moon or something, but I have no idea what that means.
It means that you're likely to be optimistic, idealistic, and creative.
Creative, maybe. Optimistic and idealistic, I'm not so sure about.
Well, it's not an exact science, so that's fine.
How do you know so much about this stuff?
I don't know. I went through a very niche Tumblr phase in early high school where I learned a bunch of witchy things and also a lot about the zodiac. I think most of it is bullshit, but it's also kind of fun to see how in some ways your traits align with your sign, even if you actively try to think of connections.
So what's your sign?
Very smooth.
I'm not making a pass. I'm actually asking.
I'm a Sagittarius.
No, you're not.
You're right. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, I see right through you, two-faced ass.
Come on, we're not that bad.
Yeah, okay.
When I was really into my zodiac phase, I really felt connected to Sagittarius, though. I thought they were super cool because the symbol is a centaur, and centaurs are the superior creature in Greek mythology.
Well, I don't know about that. The sirens are pretty badass. Imagine if your singing could like lure people to their own demise. That would be crazy.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You don't have to agree with me. Convince me that centaurs are better.
I don't really care that much.
Circe and Glaucus are silent again for a few moments. They haven't been looking at each other for most of the scene. At this point, Glaucus sneaks glances at Circe to see if Circe is okay. Circe doesn't notice.
Remember a few years ago when there were all those Old Spice commercials starring Terry Crews, and they got increasingly absurd as they aired?
Yeah, what about them?
I was just thinking about that one where a guy is taking a shower in a locker room, and at first you think it's just a normal guy, and then it zooms out and he's actually a centaur.
That's like a wild combination of normieism and absurdism.
Yeah, I honestly think about it pretty frequently.
Did you have those boys in middle school who either sprayed like a shit ton of Axe or like wore a shit ton of Old Spice deodorant to hide their prepubescent stench?
Yeah, yikes. It's like, I can still smell it if I think about it enough.
Oh, that's the worst. When you associate a smell with something so strongly and then like you think about it and it just comes back to you. Or like, okay, so my ex used to wear Old Spice Wolfthorn, which is just one of many examples of how dumb the Old Spice names are. And like, I liked the smell of it a lot because he was wearing it and I liked him. But now every time I smell someone wearing it, I either get super sad or super angry because I have this dumb association with the smell of a deodorant with this dumb person.
Glaucus has still been looking at Circe this whole time, and Circe finally notices.
What are you doing?
What?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Like what?
Well, I don't know. You like have this smug little smirk on your face.
I just like listening to you.
Don't be weird.
I'm not being weird. I'm trying to be nice.
I like listening to you too.
Circe points to Ursa Major again.
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now.
Okay, so that's the Big Bear, right? And if I remember correctly, the Big Dipper is part of the constellation. So the one next to it, that one's the Little Dipper?
So you do know something about constellations.
Like, barely. Hey, do you have that thing where, like, you associate colors with emotions or things?
Like the smell thing? Or like...
Well, I guess, but not, like, necessarily tied to a memory.
Maybe. I haven't thought that much about it. Why do you ask?
I was just thinking about that whole, like red sky at night, sailor's delight thing because of that little pocket of red in the sky. Like sometimes I think of the sky when I think of red because of that saying.
I think red is like a pomegranate seed for me.
Oh, fun. Why?
Well, there's this one Keats poem that has a line about Persephone eating a pomegranate when Hades tricks her into being imprisoned. And I think it's just such a beautifully written line.
Ode on Melancholy.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites.
I know that the myth of Persephone is an allegory for the seasons and harvests and whatever, but it also kind of feels like an allegory for seasonal affective disorder, if that makes sense. Like Persephone's descent feels like that, good seasonal depression creeping in. When the days get shorter and sunsets aren't as colorful as they are in the summer, and it's still dark when you wake up in the morning. Does that make sense? I see myself in the middle of January. I sit in the waiting room of my doctor's office, tapping my red shoes on the linoleum floor and anxiously waiting for my name to be called. I've been compulsively picking at my skin again. I know it's not good for me. I know. It just happens sometimes. By sometimes I mean January. Like clockwork, each year things feel red. I think of Persephone eating the ruby red pomegranate seed. I feel stuck. Winters have felt longer in recent years. Persephone eats the ruby red fruit. I don't know when spring will come. I don't feel the fiery pits of Hades. I feel cold air on the back of my neck, a red wool blanket that will not keep me warm.
I think blue is seasonal depression for me. Maybe that's a cliche though, like feeling blue.
Blue for me is, there's this one beach near the town I grew up in, when you go to the beach in the winter and no one's there and it's really quiet and the water is this deep gray blue, like the kind of blue that you look at and want to be submerged under. Yeah, that's blue for me.
I love that. What's orange for you?
Clementines. Or mandarin origins. Peeling them one after another and letting the juices get all over my hands and just basking in the sticky sweetness.
Clementine for me too. Not the fruit though. The character from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I hate how much I want to be a manic pixie dream girl, but I do. To be romanticized. Okay, what about green?
Trees. Maybe like green tea? Long walks in a forest. I don't know, that's hard. It's definitely a calm color.
I think green is calm too. When I was little, I would always sleep in the guest bedroom of my house when I was sick. There was an itchy tan couch which pulled out into a hard queen-sized bed, less comfortable than my own trusty twin. Yet without fail, every time I had an upset stomach, a cold, a fever, or any ailment, the forest green striped walls of the guest room were there for me. When I was stressed or anxious, I would often feel claustrophobic and couldn't sleep. In these cases, I would move over to the green room, snuggled up into the couch, and promptly fell into a deep slumber. I read once that green is often used in decorating for its calming effect because the color emulates nature and represents tranquility. Green became my favorite color recently. I used to always be blue. I had a blue room in high school, a blue wardrobe, blue hair for a wild period of time. I don't think blue and I got along well together though. It's just sad for me now. I hate myself for this, but I also can't help but think about weed when I think of green.
Whoa! badass.
Oh, shut up. You were thinking the same thing with your walks in nature.
I mean, I was thinking more like acid.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, you have something against acid?
No, not at all. Just not what I was expecting you to say.
Okay, well, what's the hardest drug you've ever done?
That's a weird question to ask.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, Xanax, I guess.
Recreationally?
I mean, I have a prescription for it, but I've taken it like before going out and drinking once or twice. I usually just stick to like weed and alcohol, though. I don't really like feeling super out of control.
Would you ever try anything else?
I really don't think so. There's a history of addiction on both sides of my family, and I don't think I have an addictive personality, but I'd rather not find out by experimenting,
I get that.
What's the hardest drug you've ever done?
That's kind of difficult to determine. I've done a lot. But I guess meth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Don't apologize. You didn't do anything. That's just like, what? How did that even happen? Wait, no, sorry. That's rude of me to ask.
No, it's okay. It was freshman or sophomore year of college. And I was in probably the worst depressive episode I've ever had. And I literally had no idea what I was doing with my life. And I started to turn to drugs. Which I know wasn't the healthiest thing to do, but I wasn't in the mental state to check myself in that regard. So one of my friends told me he had a connect for meth, and I really didn't think I was going to do it. But then I thought about it, and I was like, what do I have to lose? So we did it. And I mean, I'm here and not addicted to meth. So, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Never really talked about it that much.
No, I mean, I'm glad you're here and like okay, or at least like more okay than you were then.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what was it like?
I almost felt happy again. In a way I hadn't been able to in a long time. So I get why people get addicted to it.
Circe and Glaucus sit in silence for a few minutes. Neither of them know what to say. After a while,
Sorry I brought that up.
It's okay. I like listening to you.
Circe looks over to Glaucus, scoots a little closer to them, and puts her head on Glaucus's chest.
When I was little, I heard a story of a fisherman who lived by the beach near my town. He found a magical herb that made him immortal and gave him a tail instead of legs. He became a deity of the sea, protecting people who roamed his waters and coming to the rescue of those caught in storms. They say his tail glimmers especially bright under the moonlight.
I hope someone talks about me like that someday.
Me too.
What's that one?
Lyra. The lyre that Hermes made out of a tortoise shell.
What the fuck is a lyre?
You know what a lyre is?
No.
Well, for someone who knows everything, I'm shocked that you don't know an iconic classical Greek instrument.
What do you mean by that?
I'm just joking.
That was like pretty mean, actually.
I'm sorry. I really didn't mean for it to be.
Yeah, I know, but it's still condescending. Maybe just be aware of that.
Silence for a few moments. Circe sighs and moves back to put her head on Glaucus's chest.
Did you have to learn to play the recorder in
Yeah.
3rd grade?
Yeah. What made you think of that?
I don't know. Music, I guess. But, like, why the recorder? Why not, like, the cello or something?
Or the lyre.
Or the lyre!
Circe is noticing the sound of crickets around them.
Is it cicada season?
I don't think so.
They're, like, around every 7 years, right?
I don't know, but that sounds right.
17?
Maybe. Why do you ask?
Well, maybe I just forget the difference between what crickets sound like and what cicadas sound like.
I don't think they sound super similar.
You're probably right.
I feel like cicadas sound like maracas, sort of, and are like lower pitched.
So these are crickets, then?
Probably.
Do you have a favorite bug?
I don't know. Definitely not mosquitoes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a given.
I get bit so fucking frequently during the summer, no matter how much fucking bug spray I put on. So, like, that feels like a scam.
I've never had much of a problem with mosquitoes.
Maybe you're anemic.
What?
My dad is anemic, and he never gets mosquito bites. And he says it's because people with anemia don't smell as good to mosquitoes because of the iron deficiency or something.
I never thought of that.
I must smell really good to them if they bite me so much.
He scratches his legs. This is probably a reflex, not because of actual mosquitoes. Circe sniffs Glaucus.
I think you smell, like, kind of sweaty.
Well, good thing you're not a mosquito. Beautiful.
What?
The sound.
Oh, yeah.
Nature's wild. Like, this could be a song. I'd for sure listen to this.
I think Nietzsche wrote something about musicality being in nature and like the Dionysian impulse or something along those lines. Music and nature being intertwined.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of music?
I don't know. I kind of listen to everything.
Even country?
Yeah. What's wrong with country music?
Oh, like ostensibly nothing. It's just not my thing.
I don't listen to it a lot, but I don't hate it by any means.
What would you say you listen to the most?
I guess indie, folk, alternative, something along those lines.
Makes sense.
Why do you say that?
I like sad indie boys who listen to sad indie music.
Yeah, I guess that's me. What do you like to listen to?
Well, kind of everything.
But not country.
Yeah, not country. I guess like I listen to a lot of classic rock and Motown and funk and stuff that my parents would play in the house growing up. My dad bought me a record player for my 10th birthday, and whenever one of us was home, we would always have a record playing. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac was our Sunday album. Who's Next by The Who was Tuesdays. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys was Fridays. Where Did Our Love Go by the Supremes was all the time.
My parents never really played music in the house. I don't understand it. I have to have music playing while I do anything.
I'm the same way. I feel lucky to have been exposed to good stuff growing up, though. Remember that phase in like 2014 or 15 when every popular song had a klezmer-esque saxophone riff in it?
Klezmer.
Oh my God.
What?
You don't know what klezmer is?
No.
Okay, so it's a traditional Ashkenazi Jewish type of music that's like a little jazzy and kind of folky and like largely based in Eastern European musical traditions, but also Middle Eastern music. And it's very horn heavy with some strings and sometimes an accordion or two. It's very fun. Actually, maybe my favorite genre of music.
And it was in pop music.
Yeah. You know that riff in Talk Dirty to Me by Jason Derulo?
Oh, that's the one that's like...
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, a great period of time in music. Or like Like good, bad music, I guess.
Iconic music.
Exactly. Much better than 2010, at least.
I'll give you that. Do you know Beirut?
The capital of Lebanon?
No, I mean the band.
No. I've never heard of them.
It's basically this one guy who's a multi-instrumentalist and the lead vocalist. And then basically per song or album, there's just a different group of band members that join on for the project. So it's like an ever-changing group, but there's still a sense of cohesion that comes out of the group always being in flux. And I saw them live once a few years ago. It was a free concert in a public park and they weren't super popular yet. So I was able to stand right at the front of the crowd. And the music is so much more dynamic live. The stage was full of musicians playing trumpets and trombones and the saxophone and the French horn and the glockenspiel and the flugelhorn and the mandolin. And I've never felt such fullness musically or maybe in general. There's a flood of sound that overcomes you and you can feel it. Like you can touch the sound waves and know them and feel surrounded, but not suffocated. Just whole.
What's a flugelhorn?
It's like a cross between a bugle and a trumpet.
Very cool. But how do you know what a flugelhorn and a glockenspiel are, but not a lyre?
Well, I don't know. I don't have to know literally everything.
Was that you trying to show off your musical knowledge, though?
No, I was literally just talking about the band.
Sure.
Circe knows that Glaucus is reading her correctly, but doesn't want him to know that he's right. She switches the subject.
What's the weirdest song that's ever made you cry?
What?
Well, I think it's a pretty straightforward question.
I don't know if I've ever cried to a song before.
Wow, how masculine of you.
What? No!
Just kidding.
Well, what's the weirdest song you've ever cried to?
I don't really know.
I mean, you asked the question, so you probably have one in mind.
Maybe like Heart of Gold by Neil Young.
That seems like a pretty normal song to cry to. He has one of those voices that just really tugs on your heartstrings.
Yeah, but it's a song all about growing old. And like not in the way that we are always growing old, but like being old. So I guess I shouldn't relate.
Sounds like a quarter-life crisis to me.
Yeah, maybe.
I have this theory about myself, about when I'll die.
Go on.
I think because I'm so reckless with lack of care for my body and doing stupid things all the time, as if my frontal lobe never developed and how much of my adolescence I spent thinking about how much I wanted to die, but I was too afraid to do anything about it. I'm either going to die tragically young or exceptionally old, like 107 years old. There's no way the universe is going to let me die at a normal age. Like it's either going to be punishment for all the dumb things I've done or punishment for my passivity.
Whoa. What would you consider to be tragically young?
I don't know, but it feels like I'm quickly slipping away from that option. So I guess I'll be around till I'm 107.
That sounds awful, honestly.
Yeah, I probably deserve it though.
I don't quite know how you want me to respond to that.
You don't have to.
Okay, yeah, I just don't want you to like expect me to be like, oh no, I'm sure you don't deserve that. Because I don't know you like that.
I think I kind of forgot for a second. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, I was being weird.
You're right. You were, but it's okay.
Okay.
How often would you say that you think about death?
I don't know. Not super frequently.
Frequently enough to have a theory about when you'll die, though.
I guess. Why?
I don't know.
How often do you think about death?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah, not always consciously, but I feel like it's always something that's at least in the back of my head.
Are you afraid of dying?
Who isn't?
I'm not.
I don't believe that.
I'm not, like, seriously. Or at least I don't think I am.
I'm terrified of it.
Why?
I hate being uncertain about things, and death is like the ultimate uncertainty. What happens after we die? Who the fuck knows, except for people who are already dead? Like, that's fucking terrifying.
It seems kind of peaceful to me. Like the idea of not having any responsibilities or anything to do. Just not existing. I don't know. I don't think it seems that bad.
Well, I mean, sometimes I don't want to exist, but I don't want to die.
Heavy.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't see not wanting to exist as much different than wanting to die.
I feel like it's a much more passive thing. Like, I don't actively want to die, you know? Sometimes I just don't want to be here.
I still don't really get it.
It's okay. I wrote this before you came here.
Circe pulls out the journal she was writing in at the beginning of the play.
I've been thinking about death a lot lately, and I am more scared than usual. A few weeks ago, I got too high, and I started to think about what it would feel like after I died. What I imagine is that it's like you're sleeping, and you know that you're sleeping. And I imagine a profound sense of aloneness. Maybe that's not what it's like. I was sitting on the toilet, trying to get my brain back on track. And when I said I started to think about it, I mean that I fixated on it. I started to think about it and I could not stop. So I took out my phone and I Googled, what does it feel like after you die?
What did it say?
I found a forum from a bunch of people who had briefly been declared dead before being revived, and the general consensus was that it felt peaceful, like there were no worries or cares, like you're on an empty beach wading into the water and you just feel at peace.
Wow.
What?
Feels nice to know.
Maybe it's not so scary.
I guess we won't know until we know.
That's the scary part.
Have I told you about that one yet?
Sagittarius, yeah?
No, right next to it.
No. What is it?
That's Scorpius. See, there's the antennae of the scorpion. And you can see the body is kind of like curved, like it's walking, and then there's some little legs at the end.
I feel like whoever named these constellations was really running out of names when they got to that one. Like, I can't see a scorpion at all.
I feel like that's the case with some constellations, but I feel like with this, I can totally see a scorpion.
I guess if you were to draw an outline over it, maybe I could see it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is what maps of stars look like.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. What's your favorite book?
You're going to literally hate me.
What is it?
Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, I didn't know you were a 15-year-old.
It's a good book.
It's like fine.
I don't know. I just feel attached to it. I mean, what's yours? Fucking Infinite Jest?
No, I've never read it. I'm sure if I had, though, I would be the type of person to talk about it literally all the time. Like, make it my only personality trait.
At least you're aware of that. Well, actually, maybe that makes the pretentiousness worse. I'm not sure.
Don't act like you wouldn't do exactly the same.
Okay. You're probably right.
I actually had this super weird dream last night. So I'm at a coffee shop. It's Sunday morning and it's super crowded. I get in line to order a bagel and a coffee and they tell me that they don't have any more scallion cream cheese. So I just get veggie cream cheese instead, and it was fine, but definitely wasn't what I wanted it to be like, you know?
Veggie cream cheese literally sucks.
You're wrong. And that's not the point. Anyway, so I sit down on this big leather couch and I pull out my phone and headphones so I can listen to some music. It's a nice day outside, so I play some Vampire Weekend circa 2009 from their self-titled album.
Great album choice. Are your dreams always this specific?
When I remember them.
Do you think you'll remember this one?
Do you think this is a dream?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, after a few minutes, I change my mind about sitting inside and decide to go outside to a table. So I sit down with my bagel and coffee, and I see that there's a guy sitting a few tables away from me. He's reading Infinite Jest. I look over at him and give him kind of a flirty smile, letting him know that I, too, have read Infinite Jest, because I guess Dream Me has read it. He smiles back. I look away and take a bite out of my bagel, and when I look back up, he's walking over to my table. He sits down and asks me what I'm listening to. I take out my headphones and say, Walcott. Vampire Weekend, he says. Yeah, I say. He plops his copy of Infinite Jest onto the table, and the sheer mass of the book forces the table to shake back and forth. I am entranced by the movement of the table. I look back up at the guy after a few minutes, realizing that he had been asking me a question while I was looking away. What's your favorite part of the book? He asks. I try and think, and I cannot tell him a single section or segment or sentence or anything about the book. I blink, and the guy turns into David Foster Wallace himself. I've disappointed him. I try to tell him something I loved about the book, but I end up reciting the entire plot of the Lorax, and he's not impressed. Then he stands up and walks over to a bike that is leaning against the outside of the shop. He asks me if it's mine, and I tell him yes. He gets on the bike and pedals away, using his copy of Infinite Jest to block the sun from his eyes.
What do you think it means?
Oh, that I idolize public figures and desperately need validation from people I respect.
Oh. Wow. I guess I see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's time for me to read Infinite Jest. Maybe then I'll understand.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, one. Have you read The Little Prince?
I think I read it back in 7th grade, but I don't really remember what it's about.
Do you remember at the beginning, the narrator shows a picture that he drew?
Yes, the one that looks like a hat, but then it's actually a boa constrictor that ate an elephant.
Exactly. And he uses that as a metric of being able to tell whether an adult is a serious person or if they can understand and see the fantastical. So if they see a hat and not a boa constrictor eating an elephant, they're serious, and he'll be serious around them.
Oh, is that your tattoo?
Yes.
Circe lifts up the side of her shirt to show the hat and boa constrictor on her ribcage. Glaucus moves closer to look at the tattoo. He goes to touch it. Circe flinches. Glaucus, not thinking about her reaction, goes to touch it again.
Please don't do that.
What, are you ticklish or something?
I'm
sorry.
I get weird about being touched.
Oh. But before you...
That was different.
Why?
It just was.
Glaucus doesn't get it, but knows not to ask. Circe is still slightly on edge.
I think I want to get a tattoo. Maybe the outline of Sagittarius or something. I want to give myself a tattoo one day.
I've always kind of wanted to learn how to do tattoos.
Oh, we could learn together.
Maybe.
I probably have some India ink and needles at my house if you want me to give you one.
Maybe another time.
Why not now?
Dude, I don't want to.
It could be fun.
I literally said no. I don't understand what you're not getting about this.
You don't have to be so defensive.
I'm not being defensive. I just don't know why you're being so pushy about this.
I don't see what's that big of a deal.
Well, maybe because getting something permanent on my body from a person who I literally do not know at all is an incredibly anxiety-provoking thought.
I wouldn't say we don't know each other at all. After all,
we don't know each other. You don't know me.
Glaucus goes to touch Circe's hand.
Don't fucking touch me.
Circe stands up as if she is about to leave. Glaucus looks at her, clearly wanting her to stay.
Please don't go.
Circe paces for a moment. She stands facing away from Glaucus.
Why?
What?
Why do you want me to stay?
I just do. I've been enjoying talking to you. I want to get to know you.
It doesn't feel that way.
What do you mean?
It feels like you think I owe you the act of staying here. Like, you don't like it when I disagree with you, and you say that you find me pretentious or condescending, but then you think that saying you like me or want to listen to me is enough to combat that. You didn't have to come here. If you wanted to get to know me, then you would listen and not question boundaries.
Pause. This should feel different from all the other pauses in the play. They really have nothing to say to each other. Circe starts to walk away. Pause. She takes a few steps back to where Glaucus is.
Why do you want me to stay? And don't give me a BS reason or you will never see me again.
I'm fucking terrified of being alone.
That's the first completely honest thing you've said to me all night.
Circe lays back down, not right next to Glaucus.
This isn't done yet.
What isn't done yet?
Tonight, I guess.
It's still kind of early.
Not really.
It's not morning yet.
Yeah.
You didn't feel like it was time to go earlier either?
And you wanted me to stay. I wanted you to want me to stay.
You think if I were to trebuchet myself into the night sky right now, someone sometime in the future would read a myth about me? This guy ruined a good thing, and so he shot himself up into the sky. Probably doesn't merit a myth. What?
You're right. It definitely doesn't merit a myth. And you didn't ruin. I don't want this to end on a bad note. I just want to be here with someone for a bit. And when it feels like it's time to go, I'll go.
And it doesn't feel like it's time yet?
Not yet.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just wanted to...
Feel close to me. I know.
Glaucus nods his head. They share a look. They understand each other. They know it is not the end, but the end might be soon. Pause. Glaucus plucks a dandelion out of the ground. It is kind of squished. He puts it behind his ear. He plucks out another one and reaches out to hand it to Circe. She moves closer to him, takes the dandelion, and puts it behind her ear. Silence for a moment. They look up at the stars. The end.
All right. Awesome. Great. So if the actors can come back on screen, we're gonna start a little bit of a talk back. So I had asked earlier, I said, actors, how did you approach these roles? And I'm gonna combine the question from Joan, because then she continues and she goes, actors, what was it like to be these characters over the course of this play's development? Do you feel your characters went through many changes, / did you change any approaches?
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. I think for me, like over time, and I don't know if this was because of the different drafts in the script or more about just like my familiarity with the character. Like I feel like it became like there was sort of finding the balance between like the Lamau depression kind of thing, and like the sort of genuine like my life sucks, I hate my life, whatever. Like the more like I guess like real stuff, and I guess like finding that balance was something that I definitely played with a lot. And I think I also think just like over time, like the character just started to feel more three-dimensional to me, and I don't know if that was because of further drafts in the play or, like I said, because of my familiarity with the character. But I guess my approach sort of to the character was very much like the sort of like Gen Z kind of like, oh, like I'm depressed, but I am not going to talk about it in a way that's sincere, but also like because it's a stranger, like I'm able to talk about it in a way that is sincere. That's sort of like my thought process, I guess. I'm gonna go for it.
In terms of how the character has changed for me from start to finish of the process, I think just becoming more familiar with the text has helped me a lot to get inside Circe's head, because the more, when we started, it was a cold read, meaning that we had never worked with the text before the first time we read through it in character. And the more I read it, the more I found commonalities within myself. And so it was much easier to hold on to the character and develop her through myself, because we haven't worked on it super often. We've just been able to get together when we can. And so that has helped me run a thread through all the workshops by holding on to myself in Circe.
Right, awesome. Leah asked, and I think this is for you, Megan, but also Glaucus. Did Glaucus listen to Lana Del Rey?
Leah, thank you so much for your question. I would say yes. I think Glaucus did listen to Lana Del Rey. I think he really enjoyed Born to Die, maybe even Birthday Paradise Edition. Who knows, though?
Funny. Vanessa asked, I love that they're in person. I haven't seen that on Zoom yet. But I loved that you guys are together. They're up in Skidmore right now, right?
You betcha.
Yeah, awesome. Saratoga Springs, the birthplace of this play.
Literally. Capital of the United States.
Yeah. No, it was a few weeks ago. We did a workshop of this play, and Tony and Yael have been with us since, when did we do the first reading of it? It was like maybe like October, November. It was like quite a long time ago now. Yeah, so they've both been reading for these characters for a while, which has been so awesome to have them through like all of the stages of this play. But the last time we did a workshop, they were both in Saratoga, and I think one of you suggested, like, do you want us in the same? Yeah, Tony was like, do you want us to be in the same room for this reading? And I was like, yeah, that would be amazing. Because like Vanessa is saying, like, that's not a thing that we get to see in Zoom theater. So I thought that was like a really cool, like, I don't know, combination of like Zoom theater being like safely distanced from each other, but also having some kind of like in-person part of it. So yeah, I was super appreciative that you guys were able to be in the same place.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really just like a combination of like, what can Zoom theater be without trying to be live theater and without trying to be film, like making its own medium out of that. And that's been like such a joy to watch, especially in these workshops and as Megan's been our RA. Angel asks, question for the playwright, did either of the two characters present challenge in writing?
Yeah, I had a really hard time writing Glaucus in particular for a while because I've always said throughout this process that I think that both Glaucus and Circe kind of suck. Like, I love them. I love them both as characters. Obviously, I wrote them. But I think they're both like they can be very self-absorbed and like not considerate of other people. And I was kind of afraid, not like afraid, but I was really hesitant for a while to like really lean into Glaucus's shittiness. Because I was just like, oh, I don't know, like I like his character so much, like I don't want him to hurt Circe. And then I was like, no, like there needs to be something there within the play, and like I can't be I don't know, I guess like afraid of like what needs to happen in this, and like there needed to be more conflict than there was. So yeah, I was making Glaucus like nicer than he needed to be for a while. And it was really hard because like I do care for both of these characters a lot, and I didn't want either of them to like be mean or like hurt each other. But yeah, I definitely like, with working with this play for so long, I just like realized at certain points that like there were more like peaks and valleys that needed to be added, especially because it is a play that's in one location. It's just with these two actors. So things changed with his character. But I had a lot of fun writing both of them also.
Yeah, I like how both of these characters, like, there's no real protagonist and antagonist. Like, they each choose their own times to be the protagonist and the antagonist. And I think that's a super interesting aspect of this play, especially because it all takes place in like real time, you know? And I think like the realistic aspect of it, while talking also about like the fantastic, you know, mythology and everything like that, is such a great contrast. Megan, I really encourage you to read all of these awesome comments. They're so sweet. I'm just trying to look through to see if we have any other questions. And we don't. But I agree with Leah. They said having Circe and Glaucus in the same room brought a lot of intimacy to this. And that was one of my favorite aspects, is like just being able to be close to each other really brought, like, especially with the hand on the face moment. So touching. And like the whole thing of this, like especially with Glaucus, is like having that intimacy is so necessary for him. And so like, wow, having it in person so worked. Like, great job, actors. Reed says, I really like the flow and pacing of the conversation. How did you get a handle on that groove in the writing process?
Ooh, that's a great question. Thank you, Reed. I wrote a lot of this play in like shorter segments. Oh my God. I wrote it in like shorter scenes and segments. So it would be, the way this process started was like I would pick a constellation or a topic to write about. And if like, you guys obviously, when you're watching, you can't see what the actual script looks like, but there's a lot of line breaks in between. And so I would pick a topic that I wanted to write about. And then I figured out how to kind of lace them together into this larger conversation. I am really big on like silence within plays. I think that it can say so much about the characters and about situations. And I mean, I love writing a lot. I'm very long-winded, but I also think that like finding those moments of silence can be really impactful. So it was something that I went back and like looked at when I was piecing the scenes together, and I was like, there's a huge block of text here. Where's a place that I can find like a pause that happens? Like, is this going to be a short one? Is this one that's like 2 minutes long and the audience is like, what's happening? Is there more to this? So I don't know, I definitely wanted like a lot of variety in like the pacing of it. So it was something that I like looked back for moments where I could add those pauses in. I hope that answers your question. There were also like 10 different drafts of this play, and the pauses were not always the same in each one. So it was just kind of like, when I was reading it back, sometimes I'd find a moment where I was like, there can be a pause there. Like, they don't need to be saying anything.
Yeah, Leah says the power shifts of these two characters are really dynamic, very subtle and frequent shifts. And I think that's what you were also saying too, where it's like those shifts are necessary. You need to somehow keep them on the toes in a conversation play. And you did. Awesome. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. I know it's on a delay, so I apologize if I'm missing anything. But I think that concludes our live staged reading of No Good Music Came Out in 2010 by Megan Muratore.
Yay!
Thank you all so much for being here. It means so much to me. This play is super special to me, so I was very happy to get to hear it read out loud. So thank you all.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for donating. We're literally $50 away from our goal. Like, I cannot say enough. Thank you guys so much for being so like dedicated to helping us and helping Megan. And wow, just thank you for the turnout today. And thank you, Megan, for putting this up. So exciting. Awesome. Thank you, Yael. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Ayesha. Thank you guys so much for everything. And we hope to see you guys really soon in our next maybe reading.
Yes, stay tuned. Follow the Citadel of Playwrights on Instagram.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody. Bye, YouTube.
Bye.